Have you ever heard of someone spending $500,000 on a birthday party for their cat?
祝你生日快乐
In Russia's world of mega-rich oligarchs, that's just a casual weekend. From buying entire sports teams to sailing on yachts that feel like floating cities, these billionaires live on a different planet. They call themselves businessmen. But are they actually? Let's look at the 7 of the richest oligarchs, how they got their fortunes, and what they do with all that money. Let's take a quick look at why they're called oligarchs rather than simply Russian billionaires. After the Soviet Union collapsed, Russia's move toward a market economy happened very quickly, and without strong regulations in place. The government issued privatization vouchers to ordinary citizens, hoping everyone would own a piece of former state assets. However, many regular people were struggling with basic needs and didn't fully grasp the voucher system's potential. Well-connected individuals, often close to key politicians or influential business figures, bought up these vouchers at very low prices. They also took advantage of special deals, like the Loans for Shares program, where banks lent money to the government in exchange for temporary control of large state-owned companies. When the government couldn't repay those loans, the lenders gained ownership of valuable assets. That's how a few people ended up with massive stakes in oil, gas, metals, and banking, effectively becoming oligarchs rather than just wealthy entrepreneurs. The term oligarchy goes beyond having a lot of money. It suggests political and economic power concentrated in the hands of a few. Their net worth can rise or fall quickly. Factors like commodity prices, stock values, sanctions, and global politics can shift billions of dollars in a matter of days. Still, these 7 remain some of the most influential figures in Russia and possibly the world. Roman Abramovich. Roman Abramovich is one of the most famous Russian oligarchs worldwide. Many people recognize his name because he once owned an English soccer club that suddenly started racking up trophies. Before becoming a sports mogul, Abramovich made smart moves in the oil industry during Russia's early post-Soviet period. He bought undervalued oil assets that later soared in value, which set the stage for his rise to billionaire status. Depending on market changes, his net worth is often listed between $7 and $15 billion. Billions! Yet it's not just about numbers. Abramovich is known for massive yachts that sometimes feature advanced security systems, luxurious spas, and rumors of anti-paparazzi lasers. He has also been active in charity projects, funding hospitals and educational programs. Some people see him as a flashy figure who enjoys the spotlight. Others say he's more private than you think and simply loves big investments, whether it's a sports team or a new real estate project. One detail that often shocks people is the cost of his yacht's upkeep alone. Some claim it could pay for whole apartment buildings. While that might be an exaggeration, it shows how intense the lifestyles of these billionaires can be. And the craziest part? He was a simple young man struggling in Siberia. But with the right information at the right time, he became a global name in sports, oil, and luxury. It's kind of the same as if you had bought Bitcoin in 2009, knowing it would take off in a couple of years. Pretty much the same idea with oil stocks back then. Alisher Usmanov. Alisher Usmanov rarely seeks the spotlight, but his influence is huge. Born in Uzbekistan, he first saw big returns in metals and mining. Then he branched into tech investments, buying early stakes in companies like Facebook. These moves reportedly boosted his net worth to somewhere around $13 to $18 billion, depending on how the markets shift. Usmanov owns a yacht named Dilbar, famous among ship watchers for having one of the largest indoor pools ever installed on a private vessel. Beyond the luxury, he also spends large sums on philanthropy. He's funded restoration projects for historic sites and has donated to various charities, especially in Russia and Central Asia. On top of that, he's shown an interest in modern art, collecting pieces that could fill a small museum. While some billionaires flash their wealth through social media or frequent public appearances, Usmanov tends to stay behind the scenes. Even so, whenever there's a new big tech company on the rise, people often whisper that he might be an early investor. A big question about Usmanov is how he quietly spots winning investments. Some think he has an exceptional radar for future trends, while critics argue he just has enough cash to buy into everything. Either way, he remains one of the wealthiest individuals linked to both Russia and the tech world. If I had billions, I'd probably invest in cat memes, even though they don't have a share market yet. Don't ask me why, I just love cat memes. Mikhail Prokhorov. Mikhail Prokhorov is known for mixing serious business with a splash of party vibes. He first built his fortune in metals, especially nickel and palladium. Over time, he branched into banking, media, and eventually sports. And not European sports as you might think, he looked across the ocean. Mikhail made international headlines when he bought an American basketball team, turning heads with his bold style and giant ambitions. His net worth is commonly estimated between $9 and $13 billion. Though Prokhorov loves high-end events and has been seen throwing lavish parties complete with top DJs and gourmet feasts, he's also a sharp deal-maker. He sold his stake in the basketball team for a substantial profit, showing that he knows when to exit the stage with extra cash in hand. He's also run for political office in Russia, which gave him another level of media attention. Some observers say Prokhorov's high-profile lifestyle overshadows deeper questions about the roots of his wealth and the ethics behind Russia's rapid privatization in the 1990s. Others argue that his political ambitions, including a run for the Russian presidency, were more of a publicity move than a genuine bid for change. Despite his flashy side, Prokhorov invests in philanthropic causes too. He's funded sports programs, youth initiatives, and cultural events. But there's no question that he's a key player in Russian business, always ready to take a chance if he thinks the payoff is worth it. Vladimir Potanin. Vladimir Potanin is often regarded as one of the richest men in Russia, sometimes topping lists with a net worth between $20 and $30 billion. He built much of his wealth through Norilsk Nickel, a mining giant that produces nickel and palladium used in everything from smartphones to electric cars. Potanin became a major figure in the 1990s when he engineered deals to gain control of large industrial assets. He keeps a relatively low profile compared to some of his peers. You won't see him buying famous sports clubs or commissioning extravagant yachts, at least not in the public eye. Instead, he seems to focus on the business side. Industry experts say he has a knack for understanding global metal demand and moves quickly when there's a chance to expand. This strategy has paid off, especially as the world shifts to electric vehicles, increasing the demand for batteries that rely on metals like nickel. Potanin's rise occurred amid the chaotic loans for shares privatization period, which many argue handed state assets to a handful of well-connected insiders at bargain prices. Critics say his wealth reflects an uneven playing field, pointing to broader issues of inequality rooted in that era. There have also been environmental concerns tied to Norilsk Nickel, long criticized for pollution in Russia's Arctic regions. While Potanin has pledged to improve conditions, skeptics question how swiftly or thoroughly those reforms will be carried out. Wait a second, I think I found his yacht as well. Viktor Vekselberg. Viktor Vekselberg is widely known for two things: his oil and aluminum ventures, and his deep love for Russian art history. With a net worth often reported around $9 to $15 billion, he gained global attention when he acquired a set of Fabergé eggs, decorative pieces made for the Russian royal family in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These eggs are famous for their intricate design and precious materials, so purchasing them meant spending a fortune most of us can barely imagine. Why invest in Fabergé eggs? Vekselberg says he wants to preserve a piece of Russia's cultural past. Critics claim it's a flashy way to show off wealth. Supporters argue he is saving important art from disappearing into private collections abroad. Beyond these eggs, he's invested in technology and other industries, but the glittering Fabergé story tends to dominate the headlines about him. Like other oligarchs, he has also funded projects in healthcare and education. Whether this is pure goodwill or part of building a public image, it's another example of how these billionaires shape Russia's society in ways both big and small. It's kind of sad being a billionaire with yachts and palaces, but everyone recognizes you as eggs owner. Hey, do you know that oligarch, Victor, that has a big share in the oil company? Nah, sorry mate, never heard of him. Victor, that has many eggs. Ah, yes, what about him? Leonid Mikhelson. Leonid Mikhelson stands out in Russia's natural gas and petrochemical sectors. He's a major stakeholder in companies like Novatek and Sibir, which feed energy and materials to markets around the world. His net worth estimates hover from $20 to $25 billion, placing him in the top tier of Russia's wealthiest, well apart from you-know-who. Mikhelson invests heavily in modernizing production plants and making sure his businesses are ready for a changing global energy landscape. He doesn't usually make headlines for glitzy parties or expensive sports acquisitions, but insiders say he has a strong interest in contemporary art. In fact, he funds an art foundation that sponsors young artists and puts together exhibitions. This more understated approach stands out in a crowd of oligarchs, often tied to high-profile purchases. By focusing on natural gas development and cultural projects, Mikhelson has carved a unique spot for himself. He also navigates complex political and economic environments. With energy prices rising or falling depending on world events, his fortune can change rapidly. Still, he remains one of the most stable players in Russia's business scene, often choosing long-term growth over quick wins. Oleg Deripaska. Oleg Deripaska is closely linked to Russia's aluminum industry. He was once at the helm of one of the largest aluminum producers globally. Over the years, his net worth has fluctuated a lot, usually landing between $3 and $8 billion, although it used to be higher. Factors like legal disputes, global sanctions, and market changes have played a role in these swings. Despite the storms, Deripaska stays active in the metal sector and other heavy industries. He's also poured money into various philanthropic efforts, including educational programs and scientific research. While he might not own a world-famous sports club, his influence on global aluminum prices is significant. Many factories around the world use aluminum tied to his business operations. Some see him as a symbol of the volatile nature of Russian business after the Soviet era, where you can soar to enormous heights and face deep challenges all in the same decade. Which are other oligarchs that you know? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this info about the world of Russia's richest oligarchs, give this video a like and consider subscribing for more content on extreme wealth, global markets, and how power really works. Until next time, keep dreaming big, even if your big doesn't quite reach cat birthday bash on a mega yacht level.